Warrior is being sold on the poster as all the Rocky movies rolled into one, or because whenever anybody makes a movie about people hitting each other, they always have to say it's like Rocky, only more so. The plot is contrivance upon contrivance. Two brothers separated under various complicated circumstances. One of them is a school teacher who is struggling and does fighting. He moonlights fighting to make some money, then has to go into school with his face beaten up. That's very bad, and his school say you can't stop doing that. You know, it's not good for his brother. Meanwhile, played by Tom Hardy, is a returning war vet with a strange past, a sort of anti-heroic past. He's done something in the war, but he's trying to get away from it. He also has a penchant for fighting, and they both end up through very, very convoluted circumstances looking like they're both going to fight in the same mixed martial arts competition. There's no point in me attempting to explain mixed martial arts except to say two blokes in a cage beating seven bells out of each other until one of them says, please stop. Okay, that's it. I mean, I think that have you ever got any experience of cage fighting or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I used to do quite a bit of cage fighting.
No, I didn't mean have you done it.
I did local radio, and I also did a bit of cage fighting.
Okay, fine.
At some of the clubs in Nottingham.
Thank you for being fatuous. So Tom Hardy's character, he comes back home. Father is played by Nick Nolte.
Can't you tell?
And
from the way I'm built?
Yes, I can. You can tell by the way I'm built. I'm a woman's man, no time to lilt. Is played by Nick Nolte, who is a recovering alcoholic. Here is a scene with Nick Nolte in it, doing the thing that Nick Nolte does, which is, I'm a wounded bear. And apparently, as I was just saying when we talked about this earlier on, when Nick Nolte did his first scene on set, a scene which actually isn't in the film, the entire crew stood up and gave him a round of applause. I think just for being Nick Nolte.
There's this tournament. It's a big tournament. Top 16 middleweights in the world, single elimination, winner takes all. There's a lot of money. Okay. I'm gonna do that. But if I'm doing it, then I'm gonna need a trainer. Not that much you were good at. Mm-hmm. What? No. This doesn't mean anything, okay? I'm serious. We train. That's it. I don't want to hear a word about anything but training. You understand? You want to tell your war stories? You can take them down to VFW. Right? You can take them to a meeting or to church or whatever the hell it is that you do nowadays.
What about Cool Boy?
What about him? I told him I don't train with people that I don't know.
The devil you know.
Excuse me?
The devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
See,
It's almost beyond language, isn't it?
It is, but if you're listening on AM in the car, the rumble caused by that would have just been like noise.
Just hear hiss.
It would have been just inaudible.
Okay. Now, the interesting thing about Warrior is I have seen it twice and some of it 3 times, okay? First time I went to see it in Leicester Square, and the digital projector broke down in the cinema, and so they had to go back and replay the first 20 minutes, which meant that I missed the very end of it. So they then went back to see it again from the beginning, having seen the first 20 minutes twice already, saw the second 20 minutes for the third time, saw the rest of the film for the second time, and then saw the end for the first time, only to discover that I had got closer to the end of the film than I thought I had when I left before, because I actually did get to the end of the film. Anyway, consequently, I'm now fairly au fait with the fighting sequences.
But in the right order?
In the right order.
Okay.
You know, it's all in the right order, that's fine. Here's the thing. The film that this reminds me of most is Gladiator. Not that Gladiator. Gladiator from 1992, directed by Rowdy Herrington. Thank you. By Rowdy Herrington.
Rowdy Herrington?
Yeah, Rowdy Herrington.
You just made that up.
No, I didn't. Rowdy Herrington directed Gladiator, 1992, with Cuba Gooding Jr. I think maybe Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah.
You're a fan of Rowdy Herrington.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a similar. I remember writing a review of Gladiator for the New Musical Express way back in 1992, and saying, you shouldn't enjoy this film as much as you do. But the fact of the matter is that by the time they all get into the ring to punch each other in the face, everything somehow the blood is rising, and somehow it works. There was an interview with Tom Hardy in a newspaper in which he was talking about the film, and he said he went off on a slightly weird tangent about the sort of universal appeal of watching two blokes beating each other to a pulp, and saying, look, the fact of the matter is there's something primal, there's something Roman, there's something absolutely fundamental about it. Actually, that's why it obviously connects back to Gladiator. And when you read it, all that stuff sounds sort of slightly laughable, but if it's done properly in the cinema, there is something very visceral about the sight of two blokes beating seven bells out of each other. As far as the plot contrivance is concerned, it is contrived and then some, because the whole idea that somehow you get these two characters together and it's building towards a final confrontation. I mean, that stuff is ripe as ripe can be. Nick Nolte is doing the kind of the anchoring stuff about this is why I'm saying the thing about the crew getting up and giving him a round of applause, because it's like he's anchoring it in some kind of slightly more weighty thespian theatrical tradition. But make no bones about it, it is a movie about very, very buff blokes beating seven bells out of each other in a cage. And as movies about very buff blokes beating seven bells out of each other in a cage, it's pretty good. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it may have been partly the cinema that I saw it in, and it was the image was clear and loud, but the action sequences are really head cracking. You really do believe that you are watching people, wrestling and beating even until death. I can't say that I'm ever going to be a mixed martial arts fan, or that having now seen that, I feel the need to see any other mixed martial arts movies, although apparently there are more coming. I mean, even, Noel Clarke was saying that he was working on a mixed martial arts movie. Has that happened already?
I don't know.
He was mentioning it's obviously...
I haven't seen any of his since that prison film.
Okay. So, but obviously, it is something that's in the air. Tom Hardy is great, but Tom Hardy's a very good actor anyway, and the most extraordinary thing about his performance here is that it's the transformation from him. I mean, he is. I mean, you saw him in Bronson, obviously, but the fact is, in this, he is unbelievably built. I mean, it's like in exactly the same way that everyone commented on when Christian Slater was doing things like, was it the mechanic? I always want to call it the mechanist, because for some reason that title gets stuck in my head. Anything that involves massive bodily...
So there are some words that you just see wrong, like the interpreter.
Yes.
Is always the interrupter.
The interrupter. That's right,
Because that's what it looks like.
And that's what you are, the interrupter, as I'm trying to get towards the end of this.
If there's anyone who
interrupter is here. Yeah. And also, as far as the sort of the dramatic tone of this is concerned, everything is turned up to 11. There are people standing up in the audience and singing. There's the involvement of the army. There's the invocation of a great nationalist struggle. There's the idea of national pride. There's and because the fact is these things are great theatre anyway. The thing it reminded me of also, as well as Gladiator from 1992, is it reminded me of being a kid on a Saturday afternoon going upstairs to furtively watch what was then called World of Sport. And if you remember, Saturday afternoon,
ITV.
Yes, which used to have a 3/4 of an hour section of what was that then pantomime wrestling. One guy was the Giant Haystacks, and another guy was called The Exorcist, and then another guy was called the Terminator. Not the Terminator. They would all come on dressed like Batman, and then one of them would be really bad and evil and would have a chair that when the referee wasn't looking, he'd hit the other guy over the Catweasel.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Them
Exactly.
In those nice leotards.
And even back then, on some primal level, you kind of got involved in the drama of it. Well, what this does is it takes that idea of the mixed martial arts cage, which is basically World of Sport on a Saturday afternoon, but with bigger blokes, because the thing with World of Sport was it was fat blokes. This is blokes. Any largeness that they have is all, front-loaded and top-heavy, and then puts them together and says to the audience, look, that's dramatic, isn't it? And the answer is, yes, it is. It's not much else. Despite the fact that Nick is, for all he's worth in terms of the dramatic weight, it's not much else, but it is big blokes smashing each other onto the floor whilst entire crowds of people go, yay, in the background. And on that level, it works.